Hey everyone, welcome to another session of A Day in the Life of a BA. I'm James, the President of IIBA Ireland, and I'll be your host today. At IIBA Ireland, our mission is to support professionals by sharing knowledge, common terminology, and practical insights into the work that us business analysts do across different industries or sectors. And this series gives you a chance to hear directly from BA professionals about their typical day. So each month, we're inviting a different BA professional to share their personal journey, highlighting things like the approaches they take, the technologies they rely on, the tasks that they do, the tools and techniques that they use, or even the challenges and successes that they've encountered within their industry or domain. So whether you're considering a career in business analysis, already working alongside other BAs, or simply looking to deepen your understanding of the role, today's session is designed to give you that clarity, confidence, and a shared language for working effectively with BAs. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Stefan, who will be giving us a view of holistic business analysis. Throughout the session, please feel free to turn on your cameras, and you're more than welcome to interact with other attendees in the chat. So please feel free to do so. Also to note that this session is for you guys, so ask as many questions as you like to Stefan at the end about his experience and any questions that might come up throughout his presentation. So please make the most of it. So without further ado, Stefan, it's over to you.
Okay, cool. Hey, thanks for inviting me, James. We've been in touch for many years, and this is the first time I'm speaking for the Ireland chapter. Thanks a lot for inviting me, and I have seen quite a few of the videos, a day in the life of a BA in insurance sector and so. So this is a bit atypical. It's not the usual one, because what is a holistic BA? Well, we'll get there, of course. But I am in the impression, I believe, and sincerely believe, I'm convinced that, in fact, if you do business analysis without a holistic mindset, it might be questionable. I believe the holistic mindset should be mandatory, should be part or is part of the foundation of good business analysis. And I'll show you why. So today will be a bit more, so the day of the life of a holistic BA should be a day in my life and most of yours life. So if you work in insurance, bank, uh, uh, airways or whatever, you should work holistic. That's my message, and I'll show you today what that means. But go ahead if you have questions. The one I'm presenting, I won't be able to see anything in the chat, so switch on the camera, switch on your microphone, ask a question. If you really want to put it in the chat, I sincerely hope that James will interrupt me because while presenting, I can't see the chat. So without further ado, I'm going to share some slides. So that means share. Yeah, there we go. We have tested it before. Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's go into presentation modus. Everyone can see my screen? I hope so. I guess so. Otherwise, I will surely be interrupted by James or anyone else. Okay, so today, going to give a little introduction, some definition and concepts. If you want to talk about holistic business analysis, you have to understand what it is, and of course, also how to apply in practice. So don't worry, definition and concepts, lots of examples, real world examples, and especially for Ireland, there is one example which is very appropriate for people in Ireland, but we'll get there. Some conclusion, Q&A, but I have 1 hour for the whole session, so don't hesitate. Don't wait until the end if you have a question. If I feel that I'm not getting there, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. Okay. Good. Well, this is me. More than 30 years of professional experience in different roles and in more than 20 different industries. And in many of those, I tried to perform holistic business analysis at the moment I realized that we should think holistically. Most important on this slide is that I'm passionate about business analysis. Well, I can say I was the first CBAP in a country, well, even in two, Belgium and Luxembourg. Some people of you might know me that I was the first president of the Brussels chapter. I also have been ambassador. I was a former IBA's EMEA regional deputy director, and one of the first content providers of the IIBA's Knowledge Hub. I'll show you a few slides that you can see on the Knowledge Hub on requirements. And I spent much of my time promoting the BA mindset, which I'm doing also today. And I hope you'll get some inspiration after this session. So this is something you saw on the slides. We can skip this. It's intended for BAs, both experienced, also starters. It's generic. People, organizations interested in business analysis, decision makers that want to improve their business. Well, I gave these to project managers. They got it, so probably will get it too. Okay. Definition and concept. First of all, the IIBA, which of course many of you will know, until 2022, somewhere between 2015, 2017 until 2022, they had a core purpose, and that was to unite a community of professionals to create better business outcomes. Now, I thought that was a pretty good one. And I thought, like, how could we apply this to business analysis? Because if you want to understand holistic business analysis, you also have to understand business analysis. And there's so many definitions in the BABOK, but also BCS, and there. So, but anyone should agree that the goal of business analysis is to facilitate and or co-create better business outcomes. It's about the outcomes. Also, IBA is more and more talking about the outcomes, and that's the thing you want. You won't have better business outcomes, and we can facilitate it as BA professionals or co-create. We don't create business outcomes. We help the business to create business outcomes. So at most, it's co-creation. Of course, many of you know the BABOK. I don't have to tell here in this session what it is about, but only globally recognized knowledge of the global BA community, consensus-based. You have the review sessions, but we have to tell it's already more than 10 years old. So there's due to have a BABOK version 4, but I don't think it's going to happen. And then you also have the BA standard. But I mentioned the two versions. The first one appeared in November 2022, and the second appeared a bit more than a year ago, so January 25. Why? Well, and there are a few different differences between the two versions, and I want to mention them today, the ones that are important for my story. Okay. So, Foundation of Professional Business Analysts, co-created, reviewed. I also have been reviewer for both, although I didn't agree with the changes in the second, but that's my position. So, in the BABOK and the BA standard, it's about enabling change, defining needs, recommending solutions, delivering value to stakeholders. One thing, we don't deliver value. Business analysis doesn't deliver value. We at most deliver value propositions, value potential. If I have a perfect solution and I give it to the business and they don't use it, no business value is created. So we don't deliver value. So that's already a problem I have with that definition already for many years. It's the value fallacy. Look it up, value fallacy. You'll find some interesting literature on that. But anyway, so this is the same concept from a different angle. You see a number of keywords, and I do put them in some colors, but you'll soon notice why. And what is important, business analysis, you can perform at different levels. Most of us do that at operational. We build a new system, which is used at operational. But you can do also a tactical and strategic. I have a talk where I apply holistic business analysis at a strategic level. Maybe in half a year or in a few months, I can do it also for the Irish chapter. Feel welcome to invite me, James. But it's fun to do it at a strategic level. I really can encourage that. If you get the chance, just do it. What else? It can be performed within the boundaries of a project or throughout enterprise evolution continuous improvement. I know quite a few BAs that, for example, if I do BA at a strategic level, I'm not in a project. And I have done a few times. I did some strategic business analysis. So that's not in a project. But I know quite a few BAs who do process analysis, which is almost never in a project, but there are spin-offs to projects. So project is also a vehicle to do something, to get some outcomes. Now, definition of holism. Holism, it comes from the Greek word holos, which means all, whole, entire. And in fact, it's the concept that systems, physical, biological, chemical, blah, 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 should be viewed as wholes, not just as a collection of its parts. I always give this example. I hope quite a few people of you have a nice car. And I hope they are a bit proud of the car. For some people, it's only something, a thing that you use. I know quite a few people do really appreciate their cars. So if you look at your car, you don't say, hey, look over there. There is my steering wheel and my fuel tank or battery, my engine and some wheels. No, you see, hey, look at my car. And at the same time, you very well know that there's a steering wheel, that there's a battery or a fuel tank, because if you don't fill it up or recharge, you won't be driving for a long time. There's an engine and so on and so on. So for a lot of concepts, we do use a holistic mindset. Example, the car. But do we do that in our work? So if we should see an organization as a whole, and not only as a collection of employees, business domains, customers, processes. It's both. It's really both. And the thing is, as a BA, if you do propose some value, propose some changes, you always have to see what's the impact of those changes on the whole organizations or on the rest of the organization. So that is, in fact, the holistic mindset. Always think about impact on the whole organization, on the others. So holistic is the whole, but also the collection. It's both. So that's holistic. We have also the BA core concept model. Okay? So you see 6 core concepts. You recognize the colors that are shown in the definition of business analyst of IIBA. And it's a conceptual framework for the business analyst profession. Each one is fundamental to the practice of business analysis, and it's defined by the 5 others. So you don't see only 6 core concepts, you see also 15 relationships. In fact, you see 21. So there are 15 relationships with one another, but you also have a relationship with itself. So if people do use or investigate or analyze 3 of those 6, you won't understand them fully, which doesn't mean that you have to investigate all of them thoroughly, but you have to have at least a minimal understanding of all 6 if you really want to dive into one of the core concepts. They also hold equal importance or significance, which stakeholders don't like, but it's true. And it's also something you can use from strategy to tactical implementation. This is the BACCM. It's one of the most powerful models that you can find in the BABOK or the BA standard, both versions. So we have a poll, the first poll. So we are interactive. Come on. My question is, and you can click more than, so we'll get a poll. James? So which of the following BA core concepts have you already experienced with? So just click, you can click more than once, and I hope you really click a few more than one. So go ahead and we'll give you 30 seconds or something like that. Starting now. Unless James can say, oh, everyone replied.
Nearly, we've 7 out of 13 people that responded so far.
How many, sorry?
7 out of 13.
Out of 30. This can go better. Maybe I'm also so I'll do also. There you go.
Okay, it looks like everyone has answered, so I will end the poll.
You can show the poll then. You can show the results.
Okay, the results should be shown now.
So that's interesting. So stakeholders, yep, needs, typical. And then you see that then the third one is change, which is already, it's good. I like it. I like it. And the typical loser is context. It's always the loser, and context always rules. And I'll show you that today. Context always rules. So value, it's the second last. That's a little surprise. But so solution, needs, and stakeholders are the most popular. And it is, yeah, and change is as close as possible as solution, which is interesting. So, and also value, a lot of people, if it's value, it's most of the time customer value. But the back office people, they also are dealing with value. They need value to be happy in their life and so on. So otherwise they will leave and the customer has no value anymore. Okay, thank you for that. You can close. And let's carry on. I'm going to give an example. And let's go for the UK economy. Okay. So in economy, you got consumers, you got a government, you got merchants and manufacturers, and the typical needs: easy access to goods, good price, quality, good income. Same for the merchants and manufacturers. Same for the government. Government also wants to have good price, quality, and so on. But they also want to have good trade deals and control over trade deals and control over legislation. And they also have to respect international agreements, the Good Friday Agreement, and that's an implicit need, of course. So you hear where I'm going, of course. When they were inside the EU, things were going fine for almost everyone, except some politicians that said, like, we don't have control over trade deals. We don't have control over legislation. No, they had to take into account the opinion of 2,600 countries. That's correct. That's correct. And they're right. But for the rest, everyone was fine. Everyone was happy. You see all those smileys. During the transition phase, it was still going pretty well. Now, the control was even worse because during that 1 year of transition, UK couldn't participate in negotiations of trade deals. They had to follow the trade deals without having any say in it. The legislation, it was a bit a blur. So I have this thinking emoji. When the Brexit happened, so no one was happy or questionable, and the control of the trade deals and the control of legislation didn't got solved. Because if you want to have trade deal and you have a EU with 500,000 people, and you say to India with more than a billion people, hey, I want a trade deal. Okay, what do you have to offer? Oh, 500 million people. Okay. And then you come with UK with 60 million people. 60 million people. Okay, what do you have to offer? Come on. So there was no leverage anymore. So in fact, it was a lose-lose situation. But everyone told them, but that was Project Fear. And this is a version of 2018 because the last time I was in the London conference, there's every year in September a big conference organized by IIBA UK and BCS and SysKD, quite a few things organized by IRM. And the last time I was there, I had a workshop on holistic business analysis. And we did this exercise. So here on the right, that was what things, and even which needs. So we did this as an exercise. Which stakeholders do you have? And what are their needs? And so on and so on. So this was the result of that exercise. At that moment, there was only some concept of a soft or a hard Brexit. And this was the result. The transition was in fact a soft Brexit, and the real Brexit was in fact a hard Brexit. So interesting that even as a BA, with some thinking, logical thinking, some holistic mindset, because if you look in the Babok and you type in the find panel holis, I don't know if it's holistic or holism, the first moment it will stop, it's with the BACCM. So because you have all the different angles. You see here one core concept. 2, the needs. 3, the context. And this is the value, the perception of the value. So we have 4 of the 6 core concepts. But of course, if you go to solution, if you change border things, that will have custom applications for the customs. That will change. So it will also have its impact on solutions and so on. So you can apply to the 6 dimensions. But just saying how important context is. Context always rules, but according to the BACCM, it's as important as stakeholders or solutions or needs. Yeah, okay, there's that. Interrupt me because I'm like a diesel trainer. I'm going. So I don't stop until the end of the presentation. So interrupt me if you have questions, but you have to switch on your mic to ask me a question or make a comment. The last time I gave this to in fact, in 2018, to the British people, I got some feedback. It was a very good session, but we didn't like that one exercise. Okay, fair enough. It was a bit sensible or sensitive.
Sorry, Stefan. I have one question. Sorry to take you back. I wasn't aware that we could just interject whilst you're talking.
Okay.
So I want to go back to you saying that we do not create value as BAs. Yeah. For me, that's a very intriguing statement.
Okay.
If you can unpack that either now or at the end, I'd really appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, well, we do create value for a project, but we don't create business value. For example, if you do you develop together with a lot of people a PeopleSoft environment. Great, wonderful. And with that PeopleSoft environment or a Microsoft Dynamics, you would be able to create a lot of business value. Imagine. But if people don't like it and don't use it, the business value is not created with something that you and the whole project team created. So you can create only value proposition or value potential. So you hand the solution over and the business decides if they're going to use it or they are going to use it appropriately. So, okay, I've got the thumb. So you
got it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, cool. Okay. So like Uno, if you have a question, even if it's from a slide earlier, don't hesitate. Okay. Now, another part on which we have some holistic dimension is requirements. So you have the BA standards requirement classification. Requirements are a usable representation of a need. So in the BACCM, they talk about needs. But if you translate those needs into something tangible, it's called a requirement. Okay? And a requirements focus on understanding what kind of value could be. You see, could be. It's about potential, delivered when fulfilled. So that's interesting. Whereas in the definition, even in the last BA standard, it's still delivering value. No, we don't deliver. Well, we deliver project value, but what's the importance of project value? Wow, okay. We can discuss that on another moment. So we are there for poll number 2. So I'm asking the question. The BA standard describes a number of requirement categories. Some of them even have subcategories. Which one of the following is not in that list? So you can only reply one of those 4 options. So which one of the following requirements is not one that exists in the BA standard? So you can only select one. Okay. So James, let me know when we have sufficient people that replied.
Yeah, will do.
Could you see on my screen the poll?
I can't see on your screen, but I can see on my side.
Okay, so what I clicked, you couldn't see. Okay. How many people already replied?
Okay, we're nearly there. Just waiting for 2 more people.
Wakey, wakey. I know tomorrow is St. Paddy's Day, but today still chop chop.
Just one more person now. I think the last person's asleep. Do you want me to end the poll?
Okay. Yeah, and I replied, so it couldn't be me. So whatever. You don't have to show. You can wait until I went through all of them. Is
Okay.
that good? So
Yeah, that's perfect.
let's continue. So the first one is business requirements. So those people who clicked on business requirements, sorry. The business requirements, they explain why you're going to do a change initiative, which can apply to the whole of an enterprise or a business area, for example, HR or finance or legal or a specific initiative like GDPR. And I'm going to give an example, a real world example. So I was working with this food retailer in Belgium, one of the biggest ones, and they wanted to create new business. So why? They want to create new business by aiming to people with food constraints. That can be because of medical reasons, religious, or because of personal conviction or lifestyle. So they want. So the why is to create new business targeting a specific group of people. Okay. Now, stakeholder requirements is in fact the translation of those business requirements towards the different stakeholders. And it describes what the stakeholders need. If we continue with that same example, as a consumer with food allergies, I want to find effortlessly recipes that take those food allergies into account so that I can enjoy the preparation of a meal instead of focusing on my restrictions. So people with severe food allergies, they always have to go to the supermarket, look at the contents, look at the allergens, and so on and so on and so on. So what if you could focus on a recipe that takes into account your constraints? So this is a stakeholder requirement. It can also serve as a bridge between business and solution requirements. We'll get into that in a second. So another thing is business requirements, the ones we saw previously, they cannot contradict, they cannot conflict, they shouldn't. If they conflict, run away. Don't work on that project. You'll get into trouble. Or try to solve it, but then you need to be open, the sponsor or the people at the top of the organization have to be open for that. Okay. Solution requirements, capabilities, qualities of a solution. And you have functional requirements, non-functional requirements. So many people know that. The solution requirements are the type of requirements that most of us feel confident with. A user story is a different way of representing a solution requirement. Okay. It says how. How are we going to assure that what the stakeholders needs is going to be fulfilled? If we're going to see the same example, for example, and that is an example that was going to be developed, but I left the company at a certain moment. I don't know if it was realized or not. So create a website where the consumer can create an account, predefine a food profile. For example, I've got some gluten intolerance or some dairy intolerance. That's once in a while I can eat it, but not too often. But peanut allergy, oh, I'll get into hospital. I might even die. So a food profile with some severity or some weight onto the constraints. Then where I can find recipes that meet the food profile and map the recipes with our products. Still, the aim was to get new business. Don't forget, make a shopping list. And this was interesting. You could send the shopping list to Collect and Go, or which could then deliver, or you can pick it up. That was the choice. But you could take the shopping list on your mobile phone. So make your shopping list on your laptop, go to the store, and the mobile phone said, this store, okay, oh, here is the sugar. And it gave you a map to pick up your shopping list. That was really cool. And I think they did realize something similar. And the website should be secure and responsive so that you can use it on your mobile phone, your tablet, or your laptop, whatever. Okay, this is how. And then transition requirements is to go from A to B. It's describing the change, which is different from all the other requirements, is because they are there only temporary. And you see, like data conversions, which is, and it can be a different level. Data conversion is more at the technical level. Training, that's an interesting one. Training can be a transition requirement, but could also be a solution requirement. For example, if you have a training that tells you, like in the previous environment, we did scenario A this way, but in the new environment, we have to do it that way. So that tells a scenario in the old and the new. So that helps people that were already there before the change to continue doing their thing. Whereas if it's if someone new arrives and the new environment was implemented, you won't have to give training on the new stuff. Oh, we have to do scenario A this way. And then it's a solution requirement. So even a training can be one of both, depending on the context. So context always rules, as I said before. For example, set up a marketing campaign to promote a new website. I will be available on smartphone, tablet, and computer. And this is one, as you can see, if you watched earlier. So until now, we also always saw requirements that were there in the BABOK and the BA standard. But as of this only appeared in the BA standard version 1. IIBA decided to kill it in version 2. Still, I think it's so important that I still give it when giving this presentation. In fact, the sustainability requirements are a translation of the sustainability strategy. So, keywords: inclusive and well-being. Inclusive is, the sustainability standards of the United Nations, sustainability goals. It has a planetary boundary, and it has also a social ethical boundary. So inclusive, that means don't leave anyone behind, not people, not animals. And well-being, so people, the planet, the animals should be well. So that's the well-being. So I have 2 keywords here. So in this example, as a leading food retailer wanting to contribute to a sustainable future, we want to minimize as much as possible the ecological footprint of the whole organization, including our products, and make sure our products are created and distributed in social and ethical conditions. So that's the example. Interesting. Okay, what do I want to show with that? Good. If you see the relationship between the different requirement categories, business requirements, you only have a handful of them, 3, 4 maximum for a whole project or a whole change initiative. There are not that many of them. And most of the time, it's people sponsored by C-level, they are created. Sadly, we BAs don't create business requirements. Most of the time, we don't, sadly. Whereas stakeholder requirements, this is the area where we're strong. We should be strong. So stakeholder requirements are always linked to one or more business requirements. And that was also the definition of stakeholder requirements, the relationship between business requirements, solution requirements, and of course, stakeholder requirements. You can find some solution requirements to those. If you have the transition requirements, you can have transition requirements at stakeholder level or at solution level. At business requirements level, I haven't seen them. I don't say they don't exist. There's no theory about it, but it's a bit weird. Whereas sustainability requirements can be linked to all levels of all types of requirements. I'm going to give an example because this is a nice diagram. I think it's a nice diagram, but it's still a bit theoretical. Let's go for an example. So remember this one, sustainability requirements. Minimize the ecological footprints of our products and make sure the products are created in social and ethical conditions. So, business requirements. As a leading food retailer wanted to contribute to a sustainable future, we want to inspire our customers to purchase more sustainable products. So we can control our own work, but we also want to include our customers in being more sustainable when they purchase products with us. Okay, interesting. So, I'm a conscious consumer. I want to contribute to a sustainable future. So I want to purchase products with a minimal ecological footprint and produce and distribute in good social and ethical conditions for the people involved. That's me. So you can translate that in solution requirements. So having a sustainability score, which includes environmental, ecological, social, ethical criteria in collaboration with partners in the supply chain, and show alternative products with lower sustainability score. So I want sugar. Normally it's from cheaper to more expensive, the rank. So I want to have the sustainability score higher if possible. That could be a solution requirement. And you have also the indirect relationships, of course. Okay, so requirements classification scheme. I have to hurry up. I'm taking my time. This was in the BABOK in 2015. This was in the BA standard version 2. And those keywords, that's me. So they adopted my keywords. Anyway, I contributed to the knowledge hub, so they were entitled to use that. So I've got something in the BA standard number 2 that I designed originally. Okay, thanks, James. James was doing this. And if you add the 4th dimension is the sustainability requirements. Okay. Okay. Which one wasn't there? User requirements. James, could you show me the results? Yeah, perfect. Great, 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 great. User requirements are not in the BABOK, not in the BA standard. You could consider them as a specific type of solution requirements, because no solution, no users. That's it. You could say, but they are stakeholders. Yeah, but they are stakeholders with regards to a solution. Anyway, discussion for another time, maybe during a beer in a pub or so. Okay? But how we're going to apply in practice? Okay, shoot. Interrupt me if you've got questions. Huh? Okay, a customer journey, a customer experience. I know quite a few BAs are always busy with customer journey or customer experience exercise. I don't think you want to do a customer journey simple without a customer experience. But anyway, what is it? Okay. So if you're selling books, the most important external stakeholder you have is the customer. The first thing as an external customer wants to do is to know what kind of books I'm selling. Okay. Okay. At a certain moment, I say, oh, these 2 books. Here's my bank card. There you go. And there are your books. This is a customer journey. Wow, exciting, isn't it? In fact, the customer journey is identifying the touch points of the external stakeholders with your system. Yeah. And that's it. But that's not that exciting. In fact, most of the time, it's a customer experience exercise to make sure the customer comes back. Or if it's a subscription model, that people stick with you. So reduce the churn. Yeah? So, but what happens if we zoom out? So this customer still wants to browse books, but I just started. I don't have any books. Okay, if I have to satisfy the customer, I need to have books. Otherwise, I can't sell them. So I thought maybe I should make them myself, which might be, well, that's already a lot of work. Let's find someone who can help me with having books. So let's look for a book publisher or even more that can provide me with books. Now I have books. Customer can look through the books and says, Here's my credit card, 50 euros for those 2 books. Looking at it, platinum, wow, cool. But that doesn't tell me anything about if this 50 euros can be purchased with that credit card. I need someone to tell me, to guarantee me that those 50 euros will end up onto my account. So I worked also in the credit card issuer world. You don't want to do that yourself. So you have to look to a partner that tells you that this credit card is authorized to make a purchase of 50 euros. Let's go for the happy flow, and the purchase is confirmed, and the book is delivered. Cool. So, interesting. But once in a while, this book publisher sends me a list of new book titles. Okay, what the hell do I need to do with those new book titles? Well, one person at the company said, like, why don't we distribute that information to the people that have already bought things with us, or have already expressed their priority? They prefer types of books. That, for example, if next week there are some science fiction books coming out next month, that we can send those people who show their interest for science fiction, that these books will appear next month. So maybe we should do some mailings, direct mailings. Cool. Okay, so a customer journey, a customer experience exercise is an excellent starting point, but it doesn't stop there. You have to take the whole thing in picture. This is called a business context model, which defines the business scope. Remember, I chose a partner for getting my books, the book publisher. I had to take a partner for credit card issuing. So you can only do that part of work yourself, and you have to work with partners. This is something you have in control. What happens here or there is not in control. You don't know how the customer thinks. You can try to influence them, but you don't know how it works, and you don't know how a credit card issuing or book, it doesn't interest you. As long as those partners provide you what you need and you know how you can interact with them. So those arrows need to be quite strict. So the agreements. This is called the business context model. Gives the business scope. If you translate this business context model into a matrix, you see a business event is something that happens outside the work and has an impact inside. Or something that, so for example, this customer wants to make a purchase request. It happens here. He says, I want to buy these books. But you can also have business events that happens inside with an influence outside. For example, monthly we do mailing. So we trigger it inside. So those are business events. And business services is the answer of you towards a business event. So that's a translation of the matrix of the business context and the flows into a matrix. And you can see that sometimes it involves a few errors, the purchase request, the credit authorization request, credit authorization, and purchase confirmation. I took a different for the book delivery because it's a delivery at home. So it's an online purchase, but it's a delivery at home. So I have a different line for that. Okay. So if we look at one of those business services, maybe it seems, a business event, they call a business use case. A business use case. Business service, sorry. Business service is a business use case. With the Robertsons. I'll get back to that in a second. So, delivering business process, so the service process or delivery books has a process behind it. Not all services have a process. Provide book catalog, it's not a process. But most of them have processes behind it, one or more. So, you need to know which books are ready to ship. You need to know where they are in the warehouse. You have to pick them up, put them in a package, put a shipping address to the package, deliver it to the customers, and label orders as delivered. so that next day you won't deliver the same books to the same people. So this is what you need to do to deliver books that are ready to order and to ship. So it doesn't say which applications. It doesn't, you can do it with paper, pen and paper if you want to. So it doesn't give you anything on the solution. But you might think, I want to do a few of those steps. I want to automate them or semi-automate them. So let's draw some rectangles around the areas that we want to automate or semi-automate. For example, list all books ready to ship, computer, warehouse management to say where the book is in the warehouse, pick up books or put them in packages, robots. Nope, just starting, can't afford myself robots. Shipping address to the package, a ticket labeler, okay, shipping address, yep. Delivering package to customers. I don't know, Amazon having drones to deliver to the people. Was using working together with a postal service or something like that, and label orders delivered. Let's do that in the same computer where we had the list of all books ready to ship. Okay, so this, putting those rectangles, is a solution scope. So a business service is also called a business use case, and one of those rectangles, even if it includes 2 steps, is also called a product use case. In the Vollere, mastering the requirements process of the Robertsons. So sometimes if you look it up, a business use case and a product use case. The service is the business use case, process orders and deliver books. And this is one, it has 2 product use cases. Sometimes a process is a business process is a bit more complicated than sequential. And you have to have BPM drawing. But you still can draw circles around the parts of the process that you want to automate or semi-automate. And if you take one of those parts, still solution scope, same thing, you can draw the requirements to deliver that part of the process, the product use case. Okay, we saw everything. Let's go to the overview. We started with a context model. We drew up to identify business events and business services. The business services that had business process behind them. We designed the solution scope, for which we drew the requirements. This is the overview. This is the simplified version of the overview. And this is in fact the drawing that's behind the whole Vollere mastering the requirements process. But it's not in the book, that's my drawing. Okay. But remember, we had different types of requirements. Interesting. So we can even start with stakeholder requirements and then go to solution requirements. This is the more complete version of the overview. Okay. And if we're going to apply that to this business process, remember, imagine this is the business process. Focus on that step. Why do you need stakeholder requirements? Imagine that you would go straight from this step in the process to solution requirements. So look up location of these books of the books in a warehouse. So a search functionality to find a book in its location by ISBN number or a combination of title, author, and the resulting spot in the warehouse with coordinates like row and shelf and so on. Okay, imagine that you would use an intermediate step. As a warehouse manager, I need to know the location of books in our warehouse so that I can retrieve them for shipping orders. You might have noticed that this is a kind of user story. I call them stakeholder stories because I'm not telling anything about the solution. And then if you go from the stakeholder requirements to the solution requirements, it would be you would have the chance, you would not forget, don't create too many holes. It's to guarantee to be more complete or exhaustive in your solution requirements. So this or that, I know what I prefer. So remember this one? The requirements classification, it looks similar. Okay. Know that every stakeholder requirements is linked at least to one or more business requirements, but also linked to processes. Not all stakeholder requirements are linked to processes, like for example, the catalog, but yeah, interesting. So everything comes back. This is again a simplified where I don't make a distinction between the requirements, but just to have the overview. Traceability impact analysis. So, for example, if you would change something on this side, it will have a big impact on the right side because of the traceability. If you would change a button on a screen, well, this screen, it will only have a little impact on these processes. But for example, this search requirement, the search engine, it impacts more than one process. It will be a bit more severe, but it won't be that bad than if you would change something on the left side. Now, memorize this drawing for a second, because my next question to you, the last poll, is on this drawing. Look at this drawing, okay? My question for you is, how many types of scope can we find in that overview? 2, 3, 4, or 5? The simplified or the complex one? Doesn't make any difference. So how many types of scope could we see in the previous overview? I will give you the overview. How many scopes do you see? There's already one giveaway. So it's at least one. James, how are we doing?
We have about half of the results so far.
Ah, come on. People are falling asleep. How are we going to survive St. Patrick's Day tomorrow? Come on. Wakey, wakey. We're almost there. You can soon go for dinner.
Yeah, we have the majority now. Do you want me to end the poll?
Yeah. Sorry for those. Yeah. Okay, don't show yet.
Okay.
Okay, so different types of scope. The first one that we mentioned is the business scope. The context, the business context indicates the business scope. The second one is already on the screen, the solution scope. So if we would implement all the requirements that linked are to those product use cases, we would have completed the full solution. But unfortunately, timing, money, and so on, budget, sometimes restricts you to implement the full solution or phase your solution. So you can say in your project, I am only going to do those requirements. That could be a project scope, a reduced solution scope. So the thing is, yeah, there are only 3. So, but from this moment on, you could do Scrum. But before that, that is more waterfall kind of stuff. But for example, in this process, you know that requirement 3 and 4 is not finished. So this part of the process is still manual or done by other systems. You have to take it into account. You might choose to complete process by process and don't do requirements from bits and pieces of different processes. It can help you in putting up priorities if you want to phase your project. Okay. So it was 3. And remember the customer journey, customer experience. It's only one part of that. So if you only focus on that and you don't know what is happening in the rest of the organization, you might make the wrong and the false promises. A lot of politicians today also make false promises, but that's a different story. Conclusion. If you think holistically, know there are 6 core concepts and 15 relationships. Know there are different types of requirements that work at the different levels. And have the overview. Some inspiration reference material. The Babok of 16 years old, or sorry, 11 years old, the BA standard and mastering the requirements process. And people can contact me on this. This is my email, and that link is also my LinkedIn link. So if you use this, you can go to my LinkedIn. People can connect with me in LinkedIn, but give me a little message. Hey, I saw you at. Would like to connect, so that I know from where you know me, because sometimes I get LinkedIn connections like, I don't know this person. I find sometimes very irritating. So we have still 4 minutes for questions. Shoot. No questions. Wow. That's interesting.
I do have a question. Stefan. So how, as a BA, do you get people to actually engage with your artifacts? So when you produce these documents, how do you get people to really engage? That's the issue I am facing right now.
Okay. Which artifacts? Because the artifacts that I've shown,
Mhm.
you haven't seen all of them.
Yeah.
So which artifacts do you think have people problems with to engage with?
So right now, I'd say we have a software requirements document.
Yeah.
So getting people to have a look at that and understand it, because it's really the central document between business and tech and everyone involved in the project.
Yeah.
So getting people to engage with documents like that, I would say ones that are particularly detailed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, and I understand. So I'm going to share again this overview. I always like that one. Taking the full one, this one. I have worked in a company who did this, the simplified version. This one, who did this. They went straight from process to solution requirements, not with the stakeholder requirements. This is something I added on the Volare. This is the Volare, and here stands solution requirements. And I had to work on requirements without having seen this, which made for me very complex to see the link between those requirements, how they related to one another. So it was very difficult for me. And I really insisted at a certain moment, they gave me the information here, and then it became more easy. This is language that business understands, even this. But requirements is more tricky. So if you don't see the link between those, it's sometimes very difficult to understand requirements because you don't see the context. So giving the context is much easier. So if I work in a project, I even give people, developers, access to that. I even explain, I give a session about this part. Even I use the complex one. I give a session or even more session on that part before they are working on their solution requirements. And that helps also for business people. If they look at solution requirements and they are used to speak this kind of language, and even stakeholder requirements is for them very tangible, it makes much easier to digest. That would be my advice, to make sure to have at least stakeholder requirements and try to link them with business. Sometimes I arrive in a project that's already very far away on solution requirements, and in my own time, I try to do this in hasty and high level, but sometimes it helps people to better understand the solution requirements. Is that maybe a reply,
That's perfect. That
Okay.
is the perfect answer. I asked this question in a different session last week, and most of the responses were, just be a bit more forceful. They were more to do with managing stakeholders. So I like this one is more practical.
I think so. I think so. I agree. Any other question? let's go to the chatter because I haven't seen the chatter. Yeah, okay. So to conclude for today is I would recommend every one of you to explore your holistic mindset. Maybe you already have it. Maybe you already use it in your day-to-day work. But the day and life of a holistic BA should not only be my day, it should also be your day, every day. That's my advice. That's the bottom line of my session today. I hope you get something away with it. Uno already has something. Thank you very much. And if you have no more questions, I would give the word back to James.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Stefan. Really appreciate presenting for the chapter. And I'm sure everyone found the session very valuable. I love the linkage or the traceability that you did between the different types of requirements. I'm always trying to apply holistic business analysis in different ways, I suppose, as I approach different projects from my side. So I definitely learned something from today as well. So thanks so much again for taking the time. And for everyone who attended, thanks so much. And
So one more thing is, if you would like to explore holistic business analysis as a strategic level, James, you still have the offer there to give it for the Irish chapter later on this year, maybe.
absolutely, yeah, that'd be amazing.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a recording.
Yeah.
and handouts.
All right. Well, thanks so much, everyone, again. We can leave it there, but enjoy your evening, afternoon, or wherever you're joining from. And catch you at the next session.
Yep. Thanks for
All right.
inviting.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Or afternoon.